The music did stop on the screen for a moment, but I might just be here.
Both in. If you talk, Andrew.
I have to unmute myself first, but hello.
Okay, so that's coming in. Perfect. Third one will be no music, but us talking again. And then fourth one will be let's do this one next. But don't worry about muting yourself, I think it's fine. Got 4 people on, so we better get started.
You can hear us on the stream.
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
Live?
If you want to give it a try, you could still hear us, and I think you probably can still hear us. Everyone's probably just heard you say that.
All right, I don't think so, but let's go. Right. Okay, now we're live, and as always, we're having some awesome technical issues, but hopefully we've ironed it all out. What do you think, Andrew? Is it going to work?
I have no idea. I've muted the stream now, so I can't tell if the sound's even coming through right now. But I'll unmute it momentarily just so I can check that I can hear us talking.
Okay.
But yeah, hopefully.
Awesome. Well, hopefully everyone watching, how's the audio and how's the video? Hopefully that's all coming through good. So what we're going to do today is we're going to cover Angular components and making your own custom components. We're actually going to create a project from scratch, aren't we, Andrew? We're going to create a project from scratch. We're going to using the Angular CLI, and then I'm going to open up in VS Code, and I'm going to bring Andrew in via live share, and we're going to get that installed. I'll show you the plugins that we use for that and some extra plugins we use. And Andrew's going to do all the work, and I'm going to watch. Yeah, pretty standard stuff, really, right, Andrew? He's still listening to the stream to see if how the sound is.
Okay, yeah, I was actually just talking to my wife momentarily, but yeah, cool. What you want to do? We're going to talk about VS Code first, right?
Yeah, so I'm going to create the project first, so I can then open VS Code in the project. So I'm going to go. So I'm in the folder that I want to be in. Oh, no one can see my desktop. I should really just share my desktop. That would probably help. So can everyone see my desktop? And hopefully, okay, you do see a green bar around it. That's me sharing it with Andrew on Slack. And Venkatesh and Andrew. Venkatesh and Andrew. Oh my God, I'm so tired. Venkatesh, thank you so much for joining. You wrote Andrew, so I read Andrew. But Venkatesh, you're joining all our streams and my streams as well, and I really appreciate that. Well, we really appreciate it. You're always so supportive. How is your weekend going? And I hope you're doing some coding. And I remember yesterday you were talking about, in the conversation where we spoke about React versus Angular, you mentioned Vue. I look forward to seeing your live stream or video on Vue, because I haven't done any Vue, but I hear it's pretty awesome. So I look forward to seeing more about that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create an Angular project. This is really basic for you, Venkatesh. But if you see any improvements or any suggestions, do shout and let us know. So I'm going to go ng. You need to install ng. Let me actually show the documentation for the people who haven't done that before. And my computer is now hanging. This is great. So go, not meetup, Angular CLI. If you just search for Angular CLI, it's the first one. It's cli.angular.io, and you just install with npm install -g at angular/CLI. I've done that already. So then all I need to do is run the commands afterwards. So actually I can make these side by side so people can see it better. We're just going to go ng new, and we'll call this project. This is kind of part 2b because we Venkatesh, how's the audio and video, by the way? The reason why I'm calling this part 2B is because our session tomorrow on Angular, we're going to live stream this one. It's going to be called part 3. And last week we did it in person in London at GameSys, and that was part 2. So I just call this part 2B because it's kind of in the middle. And I'll just hit enter. And then you'll see it'll come up with some questions. Would you like to do Angular routing? We will say yes, although we probably won't do Angular routing in this one. And then I would like to do SCSS, although we won't dig too much into the details in that. It's going to create the project for me.
So that downloads all the dependencies you're going to need, and depending on your internet connection, this can be quite quick, or it can take a few minutes.
And depending on how fast your computer is as well. I can hear my fans coming on. All good so far. Thank you very much, Venkatesh, for letting us know. That's it's always good to get that reassurance to know that it's working. Almost there. Come on, iMac Pro, you can do it. You're running the stream. I don't think we've got any dropped frames. Everything seems good. Excellent connection on YouTube. Okay, now it's almost done. It's just doing some of the installations. So I would have created the project, and then next I will open it in VS Code and get Andrew joining in. But we'll also look at what plugins we can use. And if there's any plugins that you suggest for VS Code and JavaScript development, then please do let us know in the chat. That would be awesome. So now that's installed, I'm going to go code, which is what VS Code uses to trigger, not dot, because I don't want to open it in the directory I'm in. Don't forget, and most people do, and I just did, to navigate into the directory that you just created. So when we use the command ng-new part, and I call it part 2b, then that's what it will create as the folder name. You will see it here as part 2b. So if I go, oh, it's behind Andrew. Let me bring it up to the top. You'll see this is the folder and the project that I just created using the ng CLI. So I'll navigate by cd part 2b, and I'll clear that again. And then these are all the Angular files, but let me open VS Code. It's easier to see. So I'll use code dot. And I'll open VS Code in this directory. Give it a second for VS Code to analyze all the files and the projects and so forth. And then this is the file structure that we have. And let's bring Andrew into some live coding with us. This is how we're going to try and potentially, when we do our live stream tomorrow as a workshop, this is how we're going to pair with people. We're going to bring they're going to invite us, and we're going to bring their code onto the live stream. So this is a bit of a trial and error today. Oh, and I didn't share the link in the chat.
If that doesn't work, then we might have to invite them onto a Hangout or something so they can screen share with us rather than controlling. We'll give both ways a try, but this is the preference because it lets everyone type on there.
Yes, so let's see how it goes. So in the extensions, I've got various extensions, but the first one, which is probably the biggest one to install, is this Live Share. It's by Microsoft. It's got 1.8 million downloads, pretty impressive, almost 5 out of 5 stars. It is very, very good. It's really easy to use. You can get the audio Live Share, but I'm usually on a Slack call or a Google Hangout, so it's kind of less important to have that. So let's have a look. So Andrew, have you got that installed?
Yeah, I'm all good. So feel free to invite when you're ready.
Let me invite you, and so they'll bring up a tab here on mine and on Andrew's, and then invite participants. So sign in. Oh, I'm not signed in apparently. Okay, I was a minute ago. Don't know what happened there. So let me just sign in. It's going to take me to GitHub. I can bring this over here actually and show you. I think it should be okay. It's not asking for any passwords. And I just authorize. And that should be done. And I want to allow. Enter this code. Oh, it's just gone away. Enter this code to complete the sign in. Okay. Where do I enter it?
Shouldn't need to enter a code. It should automatically boot you straight back to. You said you're logged in down here, doesn't it? That's where Eddie is at the bottom.
Oh, it
You should
does.
be logged in.
It does. I don't know why it did that. So suggested contact is adding me, which is okay. I'm quite keen to add somebody else. So invite. Oh, you have to send an email to invite someone? I thought I could enter your GitHub.
I don't know. You've always done it via email whenever we've done it in the past.
Have
So.
we? Okay. So if I just send that to, oh, I don't want to share your everyone's emails. So if I just enter Andrew's email and send that across to him. Do you mind? I can just share that link on Slack. I could have done, but I'll send it via email to you. And then hopefully we should all be good. So that email's now sent. Interesting why I got that code though. It says ready to collaborate in VS Code, enter this code in the code bar. I didn't need to. So I'll ignore that. And then hopefully Andrew will appear here shortly.
Yeah, the email's just come in. So I'm just saying allow on my browser. So I opened up a browser window. Said, do you want to join? I said yes. And VS Code is booting me in right now. It's loading all your files up.
Oh, we can see Andrew.
Yeah, you should be able to see me now.
Awesome. So he said participants, Andrew. Amanda, hey, thanks for joining. So I just saw your message. You don't see a video? Oh, really? I'm let me just check on my phone.
It looks like it's working to me.
I definitely have a video. Hopefully you can see. Maybe like I don't know, rejoin or something. If you can just double check that and let us know. But great to have you here, Amanda. This is a kind of pre-test run for tomorrow, live workshop, and also combining it with just recapping what we did in the last one. Okay, so Andrew has now joined. So he is here as he's drawing on my screen. Oh, that's a really good thing of me screen sharing with over Slack with Andrew. He can draw, and Andrew's actually opened a file already. So what you can actually do is you can follow participant. So as Andrew navigates between different files or different, if you scroll down, Andrew, I think it should automatically, no hands, right? It should automatically scroll down because I'm following Andrew, and he can do the same with me. So not only do we see what he's highlighting and doing, I'm not actually using the control. So this is actually really, really useful. So let me get the application up and running, Andrew, and before you delete that, and we can show people. So if I open, I want to move this out of the way. If I open terminal, which I think is Command J, if I open this terminal, and then what we need to do is run npm start. Thanks, Venkatesh, for verifying that the video is fine. Amanda, let us know how you get on. So I'm just going to start the application, and what I'll do is I can then also bring up it here. It'll be on localhost 4200, and it will tell us that at the bottom as well. So you'll see here at the bottom it says localhost 4200. So that's our.
And one thing I can't show you is that also on my screen, whilst I'm connected to Eddie and all the source code on his computer, everything's running on his computer, it does come up saying that the host has shared a local host connection with you. Do you want to open it in a browser? So if I hit yes, I too can see the page that Eddie sees.
Nice. That's so good. I think they've done a really good job on this. Really, really good job. Okay, so what I wanted to show you is this is the default page that comes up with Angular. So this is their code, and it's in, if I go back to files now, it's in source app component.html. And I'm going to let Andrew drive for a bit. I wonder if I can move this over to the left and then bring this over here. And my hands will be up. I'll let Andrew drive, and we're going to show you some magic of Angular and VS Code. So with Andrew driving, I'll let him talk through what he's going to do, and as he saves and makes changes, it should automatically reload in my browser as well as his browser without starting and stopping the Angular application. So I'll keep my hands up here. Yeah. Andrew, you go.
Cool. So I'll very quickly recap a little. So we've run 2 sessions so far talking about Angular. We've done the first part of just creating a project and getting it started. So we've just gone through that. The next thing we did was just show how can you change the content on the page and put your own content in. So the first thing I would normally do is take this HTML file, copy the whole lot and hit delete, because they've just given you an example there. It's very nice to have a look at the example, and it's all very pretty, gives lots of links to places, but that's not the project we want. So I can delete everything, and I can just replace that with a simple hello at the top of the page, hit save. and we should see the browser refresh. It says hello. There we go. I'm controlling everything Eddie does, so I can now hack Eddie's computer remotely.
No, you're safe.
Cool.
You're locked down to the VS Code, so don't worry about sharing it with somebody and them hacking your computer. It is locked down to the VS Code environment. But if you have got private code for your job or your client, be wary that they will have access to all the code in that project, or everything that VS Code sees.
Yeah. So the other thing to bear in mind is, whilst we're in this app component HTML, there is a main HTML file too called index.html, which does contain the main sort of stuff you'd have on a web page. So you've got your HTML tag, you've got all your head tags in here, and the body, which has got the important tag called app root in it. So that's what's starting the Angular app up, really. And if you had no JavaScript, what you see some websites do is they have like page loading or something in here whilst the JavaScript is loading down. We haven't mentioned this before, so I'm adding a few additional little tips here that you can do, because your browser will still render this tag. It just doesn't know what to do with it. So it would be like the most basic tag you can have. So there'll be no styling in here, nothing that looks nice, but you could at least have a page loading, and you can style that up and make it look a bit prettier. But that's the important part, just to quickly mention the index.html file, which holds all the outer stuff. So that's why I can just have a hello in here, and that's perfectly valid. So the other thing to mention is we can style things up. So if I just add another couple of tags in here, we'll just put a P tag in. And we'll just say lorem ipsum. Don't need anything particularly interesting. And we'll add a div as well. I'll just do the same thing. So I'll have lorem ipsum. Okay, and now what we can do, we can make the hello and h1 tag as well, but why not? Okay, and then so what you then have against, I mean, you can't see Eddie's file structure here. Can you open up the file system so you can see the other files?
I can make this a bit smaller as well.
Yeah, make it a bit narrow. It doesn't need to be that wide. So that's one thing I can't control, is opening and closing stuff on your IDE. So what you do have is an app component SCSS file, and the HTML and the SCSS are tied together by the app component TS file. So what you see at the top of the app component TS file is this app root that we saw in the index HTML file, and it also ties together the template you want to use along with the style file you want to use. And there is a variable in here, we'll come back to that in a moment. But what I can do is in this SCSS file, I can style up things. I can say the P tag, I want that to be, let's say, some sort of dark blue. So we'll say 5555 DD. So that would be a darkish blue. You can see again, VS Code does highlight what color you've got there, and you can use a little color picker. You won't be able to see the color picker on Eddie's screen, so I click on it because, again, I'm not in control of Eddie's IDE. I'm just in control of the code, and the IDE is the thing that's coloring stuff. But if I hit save, you can see that top lorem ipsum now has gone to sort of a dark bluey purple. We can do the same again, so we can say a div. I can make the div, let's make the div a bigger font size. We'll say font size 4 EMs. So there we go. So we can start controlling the style of this, but what we're not controlling, and I'm going to do this as an example, is this style on the whole page. So I can say that I want the H1 to be 8 EMs. So that's going to be a massive, great title on the page. Or it should be.
You haven't saved the HTML.
I haven't saved the other file. Yep, there we go. Yep, so the hello becomes huge. But if I was to go into the index HTML file and put an H1 tag in here that says welcome, and save that, you'll see the welcome has appeared, and it's a normal H1 tag up there, but it's not the 8 times size that the hello is below. So this is where Angular has what's called encapsulation. Every component, and in this case, the component is made up of the app component TS file and the files that it is linked to, so the HTML and the SCSS. That component is encapsulated. And by encapsulated, we mean that anything you do in there won't affect other parts of the page. There are some advanced things you can do if you really wanted to allow it to affect the rest of the page, but that's something we wouldn't really talk about at this stage. And again, you do have a master SCSS file as well. So I could say, actually, you know what? I want all of these things I've done in here to be available everywhere, and then I can edit the styles SCSS at the top. And now if I save that, you'll see all the H1 tags have taken that on. Okay, right. You can probably hear kids running around outside. Okay, cool. So that's the most basic stuff. I'm just going to tidy that SCSS up a bit. It's a bit too big, some of this. So I'm just going to make the font size drop a little bit down on these. In fact, we can just make that.
And as you hit save, everyone can see it automatically reloaded on the right-hand side, which I think is really, really nice.
Yeah, I think there's some lovely, powerful things you can do there. And again, I can take the halo out of here. Now we've got a top of the page welcome. To be fair, we wouldn't normally actually leave code in this file anyway. It's not really good practice, but I'll leave it there for the moment. What I want to just mention quickly is there was this variable in here, title. Angular put that in when we created the project. What it didn't do is it didn't do very good TypeScript. It missed putting a public in front of that, because anything you don't, so you can have public, private, and protected, which is kind of standard coding visibility modifiers, as they call them. Public means that anything outside this class can access it. Protected is anything. Let me get this right. You might correct me. Anything. If I was extending a class,
Yeah.
Protected is available to anything that the class is extended by, and private is only this class.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
So we mainly
cool.
really only use private and public. Protected doesn't get used that much. Well, for two reasons. One, because we don't really like to extend things. We prefer using, say, composition, where you inject dependencies, but we'll go into that at a later date, rather than extending, because extending can get into spaghetti code. So that's why we don't really use protected. I don't think actually we've used protected in a long, long time. What do you think? People watching, do you use protected or private, or do you just omit it? I think if you omit it, by default, it's public.
That's right, yeah. So there's not necessarily a harm, because we're not building any complicated platform on the front end. So there's less of a concern, perhaps. But it's still good practice to think about, do I want this available? So by public, what I've said there is that I want my template to be able to access this, so the HTML file. So I can open up the associated HTML file. And inside here, rather than this p tag saying lorem ipsum, I can use... what does Angular call these?
Double handlebars?
The name. No, it's got another name. It's okay. So we use this handlebar syntax, and that allows us to take a variable from the template and display it. And this was called title, if I remember right. I can hit save. You'll see part B2, which is what's saved in here, has appeared on the page. So I can put the lorem ipsum statement in here if I want. And now that is a variable that is controlling what's on the page. Obviously, that's static. It's not very interesting. Normally, you'd have something a bit more dynamic on the page. Okay. What we can also do is we can control code with stuff in here. So what we can say is, let's have another variable called public show content. Okay. And I'm going to set that to false for now. And what we didn't do here is we're going to have some content on the page. Let's have this other lorem ipsum here. So we'll just call it lorem ipsum 2. And we can add what's called an ngIf. Now, this isn't going to work straight away, because there's something you have to do when you start using these. So I've got, and by ngIf can take a variable. So it's come up here. The IDE's picked it up. Show content is a property we could use. And ngIf is going to say, only show this content if the value of show content is true. And we've hard coded that to false over here. But this won't work yet. If I was to save this, you'll see an error. Eddie might have to open his console to show this. If you open the console in the browser.
Oh, so that console in the browser. Yep, sorry. I was looking at the console below the IDE.
Cool. You might have to hit refresh. You should, unless the compiler has failed.
No, it will pass. What error are you expecting to see?
I was expecting it to come up saying that it doesn't understand ngIf yet.
Why? It should do. What's wrong with ngIf?
As I'm just having a look. So you normally need to import the common module for ngIf to work.
Really?
Unless something has changed.
I thought you didn't.
Let's see what happens then. Maybe you don't anymore. Let's see what happens. Let's add another piece in this. We're going to add a public toggle content, let's say. This is going to be a function. And all we're going to do is we're going to just swap the value of show content over. So we say this show content because we're accessing a variable inside inside the class, and we're just going to tell it to equal the opposite, so equal not this show content. Okay, so that every time that function gets called now, it's going to swap the value around. We need a way of pressing that though. So if we add a button onto the page, and we'll call that again toggle content.
Oh, you're not inside the.
Oh yeah.
That's yeah, VS Code. Once you close it, once you close the first tag, it automatically closes the second tag.
And doesn't put your cursor inside it.
I'm sure there's a plugin for it.
Probably. If anyone knows the plugin, let us know.
Yeah.
So in here, we can say click, and then we can say toggle. Hopefully it's going to find it. Toggle. No, I'll just type it all. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we're saying here we've got a button, we've got a click event. Now, anything that you want to call code with, you put these round brackets wrapped around it. So the round brackets are kind of, this is an event, and it's a click event is what we want to hook into. And we want to say when that click event gets pressed, call the toggle content function. So you can see now there's a button on Eddie's page. I can't click Eddie's page, but if Eddie clicks it...
Oh yeah, you can't click.
Yeah, so
no.
there it is.
Can we put let me move the button up because I don't want it to, and then I'm going to hit save because I don't want it to
jumps
move.
the page around.
Yeah. So now underneath, but you know that button looks it's really good. It's functional. It works. We've got dynamic content in the page, but the button sucks. Andrew, can we get some material design going there?
I was going to say you're going to want material. That's cool. Let's put material design in. So again, I can't browse the internet, but if you want to go and just open up the materials website, just show everyone the getting started guide for this.
Yeah, just show
okay, so you show the button. Yeah.
I want to show them what you can get. You get these cards. This is a simple, boring card. You get some really nice cards with these buttons underneath and so forth. So it is. You get loads of stuff built in. I'll show buttons last. What's another nice one? Stepper's quite good. So you can kind of step through different things, make it vertical or horizontal. It is quite nice. You get form fields, and we're going to do forms in tomorrow's live stream. We're actually going to cover that with the group. So you get, actually go back to input, you kind of get different forms, etc. and so on. It looks pretty good. I don't know how well you see the animations on the live stream, but it is there. You get tabs, loads of stuff. So I think probably our examples are probably even better than their simple examples. But now if I go to quick start, Andrew's right. So let's get started. How do we do this? Using the Angular CLI, it's dead simple. It's ng add @Angular material, and that's it. So what I'll do is I'll stop the application, and I'll just copy and paste that command. And is that behind Andrew? Let me see. That is a bit behind Andrew. So actually, let me shuffle this up a little bit. No one told me it was behind. Let me bring it up like that. It should be above Andrew's head. There we go. So
yeah, cool.
What we're going to do, yeah, I've copied and pasted it in. Just hit enter and let it do its thing.
And again, I can see all of these commands being run on my side, so I can see as Eddie is typing that stuff in. I don't believe I've got access to his terminal. I think he has to give me access. So for these commands, when you're doing it as a shared stream, Eddie is in control of the terminal. As he said, that adds some protection to him. But if he wanted to, he can give me access to type in there too.
Can I?
I believe you can.
I don't trust you. You might do rm -rf/. So what color, when you install Angular material, what color shall we, you can choose a theme that exists already, or you can do your own custom. So for now, let's just pick one. Let's go purple and green. Let's do that. And then gestures, for mobile gestures, by default it's yes, you can leave it in or you can say no. And you can always change this later. And then you've got browser animations. I do like Angular's browser animations with material. It's really nice. So I've just hit enter. Let that do its magic. It will download its stuff. If we're going too fast or if you have any questions, do just let us know in the chat. I was going to say below, but it's actually to the side, that side, I'm guessing. Because that's Andrew, so that must be that side. Now that's started, I'm going to run npm start. And to want to bring up the application again. And if we, so that's all we have to do, just literally just run this command to get material as a dependency. So now I'm running that command, it's starting. You can see we've got an error here because there's no server for it to connect to. So in a second it will automatically reconnect. And let's see if we see some magic. What do you think? Will there be some magic? It's reconnected, reloaded, and it looks the same.
It doesn't look exactly the same. What it has done is changed the font. So yeah, if we open up the index file, what you'll see is there's 2 more lines that got added. You can see the green sort of marks in here. So when you first install Angular, initial commit happens. Everything that we're changing is being highlighted. But it did add the Roboto font. It also added the material icon set. So we might bring an icon in if we get enough time to do that as well. But yeah, the font has changed. That's the only thing that's happened right now is the font has changed. So yeah, we can start at the button now if we want. To start at the button, there are a couple of things we need to do. First of all, we will need to tell. So again, if you open up the Angular documentation to show where you learn this from,
that's true.
On the documentation, you go to components and we go into button. What you'll see is in the API tab, it tells you you need to import this map button module, and you import that into the app module file. A lot of the time, as you get a bigger project, you might actually create like a design module where you do all your imports in there and just share that out to your main module. Just keeps you a bit more separation. But for the case right now, small project, we'll just put it straight in here. So we want mat, button module, and will it find it?
Complete for you, hopefully.
I'm looking. It doesn't look like it's finding it.
That's fine. I can paste this in at the top. Don't worry. Save you typing it. Save you typing it in. There you go.
Okay.
So 2 people coding. Our hands weren't in the air that time. I was actually typing. And then
you can see it. Well, I can see. You can see where I've got my cursor, and you can see where Eddie's got his cursor. So mine's the pink one on your screen, and yours is your own one.
Yeah. And I've hit save, and let's see the difference. Again, there is no difference because
still nothing.
Because yes, now it's gone from being a dependency.
So in the documentation
to being available in the code. But if I go back to the documentation, as Andrew said.
But now, if you look at the documentation, it will tell you you need a map button.
So this is.
So that's just an attribute added to the button. So I'll just go and note that. Hold on. Okay. Yeah. So if we open up the browser, I hit save, you will see the button has changed. It's not the most interesting button right now. We can color it. So I can take color, and then material based this on sort of a primary accent and a warning color is what you get by default. So I can make this primary and just save that. Then the button should change color on purple. Again, it's not an interesting button. What you can do is we can actually also have a map raised button. If I save that, you'll see now you get a big button, and it's also got the animation as well when you click on it.
The other one had the animation as well.
So all of that is available in the documentation. Oh, did it? Okay, cool.
It did, but it looked flat. You couldn't see it was a button until you hovered over it. So I think this is much nicer. So in the documentation, as Andrew said, if you go to API,
API is very detailed. If you look at the examples first, perhaps the API I think is great. Once you're getting more used to material, but the examples will give you kind of all the different things you can have. They don't do that for every component they have. There are some components that aren't very well documented like this, but I guess because buttons is so popular, they show you everything you can do really with buttons out the box.
Yep, there's lots of buttons available, and there is, as you can put icons. They've got that's an icon, right? Icon buttons. So you can, all their examples have this kind of code button, and you can have a look at how they've done this. So with the icon, they have, where's an example? Here we go. They've just put in the button, they've put an icon. So we could also, or they've done it like this as well. So maybe we should, do you want to add icon next, Andrew? Make that button a bit fancier?
Yeah, we can add the icon. So the first thing again, we have to go back to the module and we have to import the mat icon module, I believe it is.
That's correct. And I'll add it in the top by pasting this in.
Well, no, we don't have to. Well, okay, go on then. I was going to say you don't have to paste it in, but I think actually material has changed now. You do have to paste it in, don't you?
So if we hit save, again, nothing will change because although it's available in the application, we're not including it yet. So Andrew will include it. And if we go to examples, we can pick one. There's a few ways
So
you can
you've got
use
a
it,
preferred
actually.
button. What do you want?
Because if you can also go to, if I open another tab and go to, is it icons? Material, let me just Google it, material icons. And there was a whole load of icons available. So, and these are all the icons it has. Like there's loads, like so many. And you can search. Let's find one. If I search for click, no results. High five. No. Hand. Thumbs up. There we go. Okay, do a thumbs up. Action. Oh, I could do a thumbs up and thumbs down.
If you look up, what about visibility? There's one called visibility, I think. Sort of an eye, sort of showing and hiding something, aren't we?
Yeah, it's true.
So you've got visibility and visibility off. So I could change this. I did put home up here, but I could put visibility.
I'll go back to this. And if you want to put...
Okay. And we could actually do this clever as well. We could say, swap between visibility and visibility off, depending on the current state of the page. So we can say, actually look at, what do we call the variable? Show content. So we can say show content and put a question mark. So we can do a ternary in here. And if it's, which way around do we want it? If it's true, so it's shown, then we want to have visibility off, underscore off, I think.
Let me check. It is underscore off. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so if I save that, if I've got it the right way around, so at the moment there's an I saying, I guess, to show it, and then if you click it again,
nice.
There's a way of just controlling which icon it is as well.
So that's how awesome Angular and Material are. And I say it's simple when you know how. It's one of those things. When you know how to do it, it's simple. But when you don't know, it sounds really scary. So the best thing to do is really just get started. And we've got Material, we've got toggling, we've got icons, all good stuff. So I think there's one more topic we still need to cover, which we covered in our last session, which is custom components.
Build our own component, yeah.
So say if we wanted to use this icon and text, but we wanted the text to change, and then we wanted it multiple times on the page, you could do this. You could copy and paste it, and I could paste it below, and then I could put number, if I change that to 2, leave that as 2 and put that as 1. I could save that, and now you've got it, you've got 2 icons, and you've got 2 buttons. Okay, it's not the prettiest, but you get the idea. I'm sure Andrew would make it.
One thing you can see now is that both buttons are controlling the same show content as well, so hence they're both opening and closing at the same time.
That's true.
So again, this is where encapsulation, it's in that one component. So when you're using show content, it's hitting the same component for both of those. So one thing we can do, as Eddie's about to allude to, is create our own component where show content would be encapsulated to each one, and we can then use that same component multiple times.
Just to show that again, the first one, if I click it, it opens, it hides both, and it shows both. But also for the second one, it hides both and shows both, just to reiterate that. So Andrew, create a component. So have I lost that tab? I have lost that tab. Let me get a new one, which is Angular CLI. You can create a component with ng generate, which is very cool.
And this is on the terminal, so you will have to do this.
It is. If I go documentation and go ng generate, you can generate all these things. So we're going to generate a component, and all it is ng generate component and the name of the component. So if I stop the application again, go ng generate component, and what should we call it? Shall we call it not button, because that's a silly name?
I don't know. I wouldn't say content, but that's a very common word to use as well.
That is. To find a good name is really hard, and you can rename these later on, so it's not the end of the world. But it's nicer to try and get it first time. So let's just say, what would it be?
Just toggle content. That'll do.
Toggle content hyphen. Okay.
Yeah.
Content. Generate it. Let's go. We need sound effects. We can go generate. So it's generated it, and as you can see from this, it has generated 5 files: SCSS, HTML, spec, and TS, and they're all in the toggle content folder, and they've all got the same name, just with a different extension. So while we show you that, I'm just going to run npm start, get that started again. And Andrew, as Andrew's shown you on the left here, we've now got a toggle folder with these 4 files. Ignore the spec file at the moment. So let me bring back the code. That started loading. Wait for this to refresh, and now you can see nothing has changed.
What we can do now, if we open up the toggle content component TS file, I suppose you can see TS with the prefix there. It's given it a selector name of app toggle content. So if I was to copy that app toggle content and put that into our app component now, I'll just drop it at the bottom as a tag. I could do that a couple of times. So there we go, put it on the page 3 times. If I hit save, we should see 3 times over toggle content works. Great. So we've got a component, it's reusable on the page, but it doesn't yet do what we had before. So the simple option here, I suppose, to get started is I copy and cut that. So I copy that text and put that to replace what's in here.
I don't think you got all of it. You only got part of it.
I've not copied the first one. I've only copied one of them, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I should just have a button and then some content below. If I save that now, and I save the other file too, you should still see the first icon. That's the first one, and then we can see 3 more straight after. Not the nicest, but if Eddie was to click on any of those other 3, you'll see they're all broken right now. They don't do anything. There's errors coming up because they haven't got the code behind it, but that first one still works because the code's still there. So what we can do is we can go into the app component and we copy the 4 lines that we're controlling that. So show content and toggle content, and I cut that. Okay, and then I drop that over into the TS file we've got up here.
Daddy, what are you doing there?
Hang on a second.
Just like being on the BBC when that guy was presenting, his kid runs in. That's fine. So I'll continue. So Andrew's cut this from the app component that we had, and we're putting it into this toggle component. So let's just get this in order. So the class properties. Oh, Andrew's running around. Class properties goes at the top. And then just get this into a decent order. And then I've now saved that. And if I toggle any one of these, they will just toggle their own individual one, apart from the first one, because we've now removed it.
The first one's now broken. So we can delete the first one.
We can delete the first one. So I'm just going to close some of these. So go to the first one, and we can delete it because it's got no code in the TS file behind it. So, oh, did I delete too much? Sorry. We both.
So I think you deleted the components code, not the app page.
Yes, it's. I think I want follow. That's probably why. Okay, so yes, we can. Andrew's deleting it. Perfect. And then if it saves, you can see on the right we've now got 3. So you have got a component here and a second component, a third component, and you can see they all individually toggle their own content, but they all say the same thing. So what happens if we wanted the number to be different for each? So we've only got a single component and it's got a hard-coded 2 in there. What happens if we wanted to make that number be passed in from the parent? Andrew is going to show us. So there are a couple of ways you can actually do this. Because Andrew's muted, I'll continue talking. You can do it by passing into the kind of the body of the component, or you can do it as a parameter. Well, parameter is the wrong word. As a property on the component, which would be, say, here, and you could say data equals and what you want. So it really depends what you're doing. There's 2 ways you can do it. For something that might be, I guess, a more of a text and a bigger content, passing in the body makes more sense. A bit how we used the button. In the button, we passed it in the body of the component.
You don't seem to be following me anymore. So if you open up the toggle component,
let me follow Andrew again.
Or follow me. Yeah.
Maybe because I typed something, it unfollowed. Let's have a look. Follow side by side. No, there isn't space for that. Follow to the side. No, just follow. Follow participant. Here you go. Okay, we're following Andrew again. Andrew drive.
I just undo what I did. So if I remove the lorem ipsum 2, which is where we were hard coding it, and instead we put inside there this ng content tag. This is a special tag from Angular, which will basically say anything that was inside the tag that we use to call this will be presented onto the page in here.
So just like we did with the button, when you pass things into the body of the component, it comes through where it says ng component. So we'll see now when we toggle, it should say content 1, content 2, and content 3. So let's just save these and let's find out. So the first one, second one, third one. We ready? Should toggle content 1, content 2. I can hide that individually, and same with the first one. Content 3. So by doing that, we now have a reusable component. I was going to use the word generic, that's wrong. Reusable component, but we can also customize it by passing in the content that we want, which is really nice. So you get the best of both worlds. You get the encapsulation, but then you also get the usability and the customization. Nice. Well, anything else, Andrew, you want to include on that?
Well, I suppose we could send in an initial state if we want. So we could say, actually, when we call in one of these, we want the second one to always be shown. So we could say, we could do this, we say show content, like this, equals, let's start this one as true. So it's going to be open. But being that this is Angular, we have to put square brackets around to say this is something I want to send into the component. And the square brackets are, it's a very hard thing to explain in words, but they basically say that whatever is the value inside the quotes will be taken as a variable. So true is a variable, it's a Boolean. It could be a string. So if I wanted to send some text in, I'd have to put single quotes around that and say hello world. Or it could just be it could be a number like a 10.
Another good way to explain it, when you put in the square brackets around the property, whatever's in a double quote is treated almost like it would be in the TS file or a JS file. Whereas when you don't have the square brackets, it's treated like HTML, as in this would just be a string.
It'd be a string, yeah.
So we want the square brackets, we want it to be false, and it does show us an error, which is correct. It shows us that the property doesn't exist on the component yet. So
cool. So we have to declare that on the component as well. So whilst the HTML is there, if we go into the toggle component SCSS file, we already have something called show content. So we're using the exact same name, which is why I selected show content. And then to make that listen, we add a special @input attribute just at the same point in the code. We could literally keep that on the same line. We have to have it on 2 lines. It could be on the same line. And then we have to import that from Angular Core as well. So we import input. And if I hit save, we should see that one of those, if it's working.
Oh, we didn't save the HTML.
We're not saved the HTML.
Save the HTML.
Oh, we changed it to false. That's why it needs to be on true. Okay, cool. So if I hit save now, hopefully, is that rebuilding?
Your save didn't work. I'll hit save for you. Here we go. There we go. So you can see content 2 is by default opened, and 1 and 3 are closed. So I can open and close this one, open and close this one, open and close this one. By default, number 2 was open. So if I close those and hit save again, it will automatically reload, and you can see content 2 is open by default. That's a good example. Nice.
We could style these up a little bit further as well. So we could say, actually, we're going to put a div around all of these, and we just want these to all be stacked one above the other instead. So I can put a class in here and just say content list or something here. Then we can add some CSS to go with that.
Or you could use a list from or card from material. There's a few options that could be done. Oh, am I not following you? One sec. Yeah. Let me see. You probably changed files. Follow. There we go.
I think what we're doing, some template rows.
You're the grid expert.
Yeah, I'm used to having the IDE tell me what the options are.
See, even after combined 30 years between Andrew and me, we still have to look things up and use the IDE to help us.
Well, I rely on the IDE an awful lot when it comes to these, but my VS Code is very raw in its setup, so trying to remember how to set the grid to go in rows rather than columns.
Doesn't like that one though. Grid flow.
Yeah, it's not grid flow. That's why.
If I type, does it auto-complete for me? Let me see.
Flex.
Grid. It auto-completes for me. Which one did you want? Auto flow. Is that the one?
I might be. It might just be that I need to be on. Oops. It might be columns. What's that called?
Oh, excuse me. I cheat and I use materials.
Filling a little bit here. What we can do. Well, I can cheat as well. Rather than trying to use grid, I can just say display block on everything.
Do you want to explain what you did there? So, why do you need this?
Did that work?
Oh no, it didn't.
Which bit? Sorry.
So you got the greater than.
Work, so I was just trying to target everything inside. So this, yeah, I know what's going on here. So this is the encapsulation kicking in, because I can't target each of these and give them something. Grid would work, but doing this doesn't. There's a different way. I don't have to put this at all in here. What we could do is straight on our components CSS. There's a special thing called host. So every component has a host piece to it, and we can set this to be display block.
And by default, stack up. The second one was open, and then they all stack up. And they're all still individual. So host...
That's probably more useful to show it that way.
Yeah, and so just again to explain host
affects the parent. If you right click on one of these and just inspect it, I was going to say, you can see hopefully what host does a bit clearer from the code. You might need to bring that up on the page, so it might be behind your head.
Oh yeah, good point. So host affects the actual component, so app toggle content. Is that we called it right? App toggle content, yeah, so it actually affects that one. Awesome, okay. Right. What else are we going to show? I think that's probably it for today's stream. Don't you think so, Andrew? I think we've covered
everything we have done
in the
during our workshop sessions.
Yeah. So. I think that was good, and I think it gives lots of food for thought. Hopefully that helps people who weren't at the session and who also were at the session. And tomorrow we're going to take that. So tomorrow at 6:30 UK time, we're going to do the next part of this, which is we're going to do forms. Is that correct, Andrew?
Apologies, I was muted. I was going to say there is one more thing we had covered, which was routing as well.
Oh, yes, there was. Okay, you're right.
So do we want to cover routing quickly?
If you've got time, let's do it.
Okay. So Angular has a built-in router. You'll find it in the app routing module here.
Andrew,
assuming you selected, do you want to show the document list as well?
Yeah, true.
The file list. So assuming you selected yes to add routing, you should have a file called app-routing.module, and inside here there will be an empty array with nothing in it. Okay, so to create routes, which are basically different pages on your website, we add objects into this array. So I add an initial object, and I'll call it path, and the top level path is just blank, so this is kind of your home page, and we have to give it a component. We haven't yet built a component for this, but I'll call it component. We'll just call it home. Home component will do. Okay, now I'm going to need Eddie to type in the terminal to create the home component for me.
That is true. So I will bring that up behind from Andrew. I think I should have moved us over slightly a bit more, but I can do it next time.
It's fine.
I'll bring that up slightly. All I want to do is Control C that, and I want to do the command from before, ng generate component, and we're going to call it home component. So in here we would just write home. Don't write the word component because Angular will automatically, Angular CLI will automatically append the component to it and capitalize it and do all the rest. So hit enter. Now we're cooking on gas. It's done. Under npm start again.
So, okay, you're already on it. I was going to say, before you start it again, let's create the contact component as well, so we have both of them ready. But
I can do that.
okay.
Or I can stop that. Control C, and then do contact.
Yeah, we just create a contact one as well. So we'll have 2 pages. We'll have a home and a contact page. Is what we're going to build. But that saves me having to stop and start the project via you again. Cool. So I can see on my IDE the home component has appeared, and I can see the TS file is called it app home. That's fine. We don't need to worry about that because we're not using this selector. The important thing is that there's a class called home component now, and it's this home component we're referencing in the app routing module. So what I need to do is I need to import that home component. So import home component, and that's going to be from, and this is a relative reference, so it's going to be ./home and then /home.component. Okay, so now it's happy. There's no squiggly lines anymore. And if I save that, nothing about the page is going to change yet. Even though we've put the right routing information in there, the page will look the same because right now it doesn't know about Angular's router actually being used. To use Angular's router, we need to introduce within our app component something called router outlet. Okay. Oh, if I type router outlet rather than lint, there we go. And if I save that now, we can see home works has appeared at the bottom because we're on the home page. The top has all stayed the same because that is available on every page. Every page is going to have that top section, but where router outlet now is going to inject whatever we've set our route to show. The moment it's home works, we could add another route so in here we add another object. So if I just go to the end of the previous object, create a new one, and inside here add a path for /contact and set the component for this to contact component. And then up above, I'm just going to copy this one and just change this to say contact. Okay. And if I hit save, nothing again is going to change right now because we're still on page loading is showing.
We've got an error.
Interesting. What was the error?
Invalid configuration of route / contact. Path cannot start with a slash.
Oh, sorry, yes.
It's just contact, yeah.
My mistake. Yeah.
But it's good that it gives you these errors. And it tells
right.
you.
When we navigate, it is, yeah. When we navigate, we use the /, but when we create the routes, we don't. So at the moment, we're still on the home page. It still says home works. But if I go into the browser, in fact, Andy's going to have to do it on his because you can't see it on my screen, and just add on the end of your URL at the top, just add / contact. Then we can see it's changed to contact works. So that's great. So there are 2 pages in effect now, but there's no way of jumping between them. So if we let's make a bit more use of material. We'll introduce the they call it Navbar component.
Let's do the Navbar,
So
and we can
module,
show people that it's a
the
single page app, and as you navigate between the page and the URL changes, it doesn't reload the page every time, so it's still really slick and fast. So I think that would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Want me to get the docs up? You remember everything.
If you want to show everyone the docs quickly,
So going back to here,
I'll start typing and you hear the docs.
Toolbar. So it's mat toolbar module. Are you going to use Navbar, not toolbar? Okay.
We can use toolbar. Sorry,
Yeah, use toolbar. It's simpler, I think.
toolbar is correct.
So navbar is, I think, down the left with the drop downs and slide in and slide out. Toolbar, as you'll see from the example, is the horizontal one on the top, and you can put icons in it, etc. and so forth. But we'll keep it really simple for now. So as Andrew's done, you import the math toolbar module, and then when you want to use it, you literally just use that.
And you can have multiple rows on toolbars. There's a whole load of features it has
Yeah, there is
built into it, but we're just going to have a single row. So for a single row, you don't need anything too clever up here. We can just say, put a div on there. What should we call it? Example. This could be our home page normally, perhaps for a link. And then we can put our URLs afterwards. So we'll have some arefs in here. We'll have home inside, home and contact. And then to navigate and actually go between these, again, Angular provides something called a router link reference. So again, we put in square braces and we say router link. And then inside router link, this takes an array. So again, square braces for an array. And the home page is just on /. And if I do the same for contact, so a router link here. And now inside here, another array. This time, whilst we've got relative links, we could just say contact. I think it's always good practice to use absolute links in the routers, just in case you move modules around. So we'll put another part in that says / is the first place to go to, and then contact is the second part of the array, so the second part we want to go to. And if I save that now, we should see that the page, Eddie's not showing the page at the minute, if you just change your tab.
Sorry, 1 second. Camera's just died of battery.
Okay. Okay, whilst Eddie's doing that, I can have a look, and it looks like I'm being told Mac Toolbar's not known, so I might have not saved something somewhere, or it's possible it hasn't saved to Eddie's side. Let me just check the module.
I should come back in a second.
Mac Toolbar module. It says save there. Okay. So I hadn't saved one of the files.
So if you want me to go, back to here, there we go.
Cool. Now welcome is still coming from the main HTML file, so I'm just going to take that out of the index file. We don't need that anymore. We shouldn't really put code in the main index file. So take that out. So you can see example there at the top. Rather hard to read those links right now. So perhaps in our CSS for the app, we should style up the A tags a little bit. So we could just give them a color. We'll go to one on black, as sort of a yellowy color. Let's just say yellow. How's that? That's a bit more readable, isn't it? Likewise, they're still quite bunched up, so we could add a little bit of perhaps padding around those. So 0 and then 1 em perhaps. A bit of space around them. Cool. Obviously, if you wanted to, you could change it all to use flex and space it also that the home and the contact could be off on the right-hand side of the page as well. There are lots of things you could do inside there to style it up. But if you click now on home and contact and just toggle between the two, let's just check the pages navigate correctly.
Nice.
That's good. So we can see home and contact works. And obviously, we can add more content. So we can say in home, I could go grab, I don't know, what do we want to put a load of lorem ipsum up on there or something. Put a bit more content in. So I can just go onto the web, find some content. There's lorem ipsum generators. Here we go. So if I just grab all that and replace that onto here, I need to probably put a few p tags in there just to make them into paragraphs. Close the paragraphs off. Okay, so we should have 4 paragraphs of text on this page. We can move our toggles as well to below the content. They don't have to be up on there, but we could take those completely off that page and just put the toggles onto the contact page. Oh, have I lost your connection?
Hopefully not.
Code's not updating for me at the minute.
Okay, no problem. Let me have a look. I did something really stupid. I changed the battery and put the original battery back in. Very stupid. But tomorrow I have a power cable for this, so it should be all solved. So do you want me to save, sorry? Is that what you wanted me to do?
Well, I was going into the contact. I was just moving some content around.
Let's
Okay,
see
that
if
one,
Andrew's got
it
it.
might be
Says
going
you're still
through.
There. Follow. Oh, I've got to follow side by side.
We close on.
Why is it following side by side? Follow participant. Here we go.
Yeah, that's not where I'm at. Something's is disconnected on the live share.
If you close your VS Code and reconnect again using the same link, maybe.
Yeah, I'll give it a try.
Bring myself back in. Here we go. Hello, everyone. I'm back. Sorry for technical issues. Let me catch up. So we've got the home page and we've got the contact page. So you can definitely see it's now changing. And these are still working individually as they were. And we've got 2 pages going. Well, so I boot you out, Andrew. I've booted you out. Try and reconnect again. If I invite contact, here we go. I don't know if you get a notification on VS Code from that. So as you can see, Andrew's done a good job. He's got the nice navigation of 2 different pages. The home page has the lorem ipsum. The contact has contact works, and they both have these toggles at the top because that's what's in the app component. Andrew, I wouldn't worry too much about if it doesn't work. I think we're done there. Was there anything else that you wanted to cover? Or if you have any questions in the comments people want to answer before our next live stream tomorrow, where we'll be doing forms, and we'll actually do a contact on the contact page tomorrow. We will actually have a contact form. Anything else you wish to cover, Andrew, or any questions in the chat?
Yeah, I can't reconnect to it. So yeah, no, I think that covers everything. I don't know why it's saying green on your screen that I'm connected, because it's not working at all at the minute. But, I don't know what's happened there. This is the downside to live chat. Whilst it's really good a lot of the time, it does seem to occasionally disconnect you, and it can be a bit of a nuisance getting reconnected. We don't use it enough, I guess. Well, I'm sure there are things we could improve.
Yep.
But no, I think that was a good session. I think we've covered everything off. You should have the ability to create routers now. And then when we do tomorrow's session, we will add on the contact page a fairly simple form that lets someone send you a message.
Awesome. And we're probably really quickly...
I don't know whether...
Go on, sorry.
I don't know whether anyone's interested, but we could also perhaps look at storing that onto somewhere like Firebase as well, if there's time.
If there's time, I might have to wait for next time.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for joining us on this live stream. Leave any comments and suggestions below after the video, and then we can look back through those and we'll also reply. And don't forget to subscribe to support the channel and to get notified when future videos come out. It is free. You just need to log into YouTube and use your Google Mail account. That'll log you in. Awesome. We'll catch you tomorrow, 6:30 UK time. See you then.
Okay. Have a good day all.
Bye.